Hi!
Hi.
Happy Monday! Wherever you are in the world, we want to say welcome. We love you, and we're so grateful to have you here and part of this conversation. I am thrilled to have one of my favorite human souls in the universe as my guest, the Kenyon Phillips. And we're just going to get cracking, right? Kenyon and I haven't talked in, I don't know, at least a year on the phone. So we're going to dive in. We're going to get to know each other. We're going to catch up a little bit. And we're going to unleash the power and magic of why vulnerability is so important today. So without further ado, Kenyon Phillips, how you doing?
I'm great. I'm great.
Happy
See that?
Monday!
I'm in
Happy
it. I'm
Monday,
in it to win
man!
it.
Cool!
I'm in it to win it.
I'm going
I'm
with
great. I'm
you.
so happy to be here. And I'm just love seeing your face.
It brings me a lot of joy. So
So
where are you
yeah,
in the world? It's already snowing here. We've had our second day of snow where I am
gorgeous.
in the
We had
Hudson
one
Valley in
day.
Rhinebeck. Where are you snowing there?
It's not snowing here. It's beautiful. It's like the sun just came out and there was a little like a dusting of snow yesterday. I relocated from New York City where I was for 22 years to Sandy Hook, Connecticut. So I'm in the woods.
We're
I'm in the woods.
transplants. I was in
Yes.
New York for 22 years also actually, right
That's
when
what
we broke our
happens.
lease. Yeah.
That's what
It's that
happens.
22-year itch, baby.
It's the 22-year itch. For Scorpios like us, it was right on time.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that the universe, I really believe, brought us together. The second I saw Kenyon Phillips, I mean, if you've ever seen Kenyon Phillips walk in a room, you probably notice him. And that's one amazing thing about Scorpios. But, there's double Scorpio energy here. I believe we're in the last day, or maybe yesterday was the last day because we're in a new moon today.
We're in a new
Um,
moon today. That's right.
yeah. So there's a lot of wild magic happening, and
It's
that means you
happening.
can create anything. And we literally have, and that's something I have just so admired about you, watching you constantly reinvent yourself. And I'm doing this workshop this Wednesday. I'm going to put it up called the Renaissance Men. I normally do it on a full moon, but we like Wednesdays. And this is about recreating yourself. And the reason I'm putting this up, and you don't see this on Instagram, is because for my whole life, I've struggled with finding how to define myself and what box I fit in as someone who's a man and sensitive, white, but seem to like be connected to other people, and also like an artist, but also interested in entrepreneurship and just always being the sensitive dude in the room
Mhm.
and constantly out creating something, always doing something and feeling like I never could focus on one thing and that was a problem. And then I destroyed that lie, and I just started declaring myself kind of like a Renaissance man. And in my life, there's been men who have come along that I've met that I looked up to, and still do as inspirations. And Kenyon, you're one of those people.
Oh, man, thank you. I look up to you. I think you're amazing.
Cool. Well, I'm glad we're here together.
Yeah, it's good. Well, we're walking the path together, and
Yeah,
that's something that saves my ass time and time again. It's just
yeah.
realizing like there aren't really it's I used to get in that modality of there's a master and a student in the Padawan, and I am and I need to find the right master. I need to find the right teacher. I need to find the right voice of affirmation and authority to approve me, and then everything will be fine. And then the reality is like we're all figuring this out together,
Oh my God. Yeah. It's
which is
like
so cool.
the more successful you get, or the more you achieve, the more you realize, I don't know, in my life, the more I've experienced, the more life I've lived. I mean, that's an achievement, right?
Hmm.
Just being alive today is still. I actually have COVID right now.
Whoa!
I'm
How are you feeling?
vaccinated. I'm actually feeling great.
Good.
Um, so I found out my wife had it, and there's this a lot of energy around and we've both been vaccinated, and there was a lot of energy around everyone getting really sick, and she did get really sick, and she still is kind of sick. Oof, and everyone was like, oh man, you're gonna get this, and I said, what if I don't? Like, what if I could be okay? And that's sort of the energy I brought to it. My wife thinks I'm like totally out of touch with reality, but I said, you know, I'm in touch with reality, and I'm gonna choose to create something new. I'm gonna choose to not lean into that energy of like, this thing's gonna kill me, because I have seen that happen. Mm-hmm. But there's also a different way we can create it. And there's all this to say that what I was going for is that none of us have it figured out, right?
No.
And as soon as you think you do, guess what? You don't.
Very true.
I think the safest lessons have been, I mean, the safest times, the times I felt the safest is when I'm not moving and I think I'm safe, or I think I'm not moving, or I think things aren't changing. I'm trying to not keep them changing. But when I've allowed them to change, that's been the greatest gift. And I've seen you continue to allow that gift in your life. And you've talked about that every time we do. And so I just wanted to learn more about you and allow our viewers to get a little bit more peek behind you and who you are, and just say all of this to say, I'm just so happy to be here with you today.
Thank you, Ben. I feel the same.
I've watched Kenyon on the stage. I've watched Kenyon in the rooms. I've watched Kenyon in men's groups. I've watched Kenyon as a father. I've watched Kenyon as a new husband, and I've watched Kenyon as move from like a New Yorker to a like new guy in the woods, you know, and a lot of those journeys I've been on. So what has been like, how has vulnerability played a role in you being able, like, in your survival of all this, right? If we're like taking the lid off now, like, or let's wind it back a little bit even more. Like,
we can go wherever you want to go. We can start wherever you want to start.
Like, tell us, like, how would you describe what you do?
Oh my God, there's Blue Michael. Hi, Blue Michael. I'm just saying hi on Instagram Live. What do I do? Okay, I'll tell you.
What's your mission in the world?
Okay, my mission in life at this point is literally on topic, to be as vulnerable. I feel like it's my job to be as vulnerable as I can possibly be in any given circumstance. So right now with you, I am vulnerable. I mean, like, the green screen screwed up. My Instagram Live thing is probably in the wrong place in the wrong time. And all these things are not exactly controlled the way I want them to be. And my facial hair is not perfectly symmetrical, and my nail polish is cracked. And
I love your nail polish.
Thank you. And it's
that's yours. Sorry, go ahead.
This is it. No, by all means, interrupt me. Mm-hmm. I need to be interrupted. So I mean, I really do think that's kind of like my job, and that's not where I come from, by a long shot. I grew up thinking I had to be in control as much as possible. I had to be in control of my environment. I had to be in control of my destiny. I had to get the best grades. I had to be the best looking. I had to, win. I had to win. Everything was a competition. I viewed every relationship through the lens of competition, even relationships with, like, love relationships. I was competing with the object of my desire. And it's a really exhausting way to live. And for sure. And I think I grew up with this sense that I had to become a rich and famous artist. I needed fame and fortune, and I needed to win at that. And that's how I was going to be barely acceptable. That's how I was going to earn my keep. And it wasn't enough to just be. So again,
where did you learn that? Like, I think a lot of people learn that. Where did that come from? Was that yours?
I think it comes, I think it comes from society. I think it comes from the idea that, that we live in a society where we're constantly bombarded with images of quote unquote perfect men, and if you don't measure up, even if it's not explicitly telling you that you have to measure up, I think we internalize that as, oh, okay, this is the standard. This is what I have to measure up to. And if I don't measure up, I must really fucking suck. And right? And then I grew up in a home with alcoholism and mental illness and all kinds of all kinds of addictions and diseases and diseased behaviors, where it was sort of reinforced that sense that you're not okay as you are, and you better try really, really hard to control everyone, to make it all okay.
Yeah.
And so I think as a man, it's like growing up like this, we put an incredible amount of pressure on ourselves and we beat ourselves up. And I remember thinking very, very early on, oh, wow, this is what it is to be a man. A man beats himself up and a man beats up other people. And, conquer and Alexander the Great. And so what I've realized in life is that like the opposite is actually true for me. The softer I can be on myself, that's sort of the glass ceiling for how I interact with the world. If I'm easy on myself, if I'm accepting of myself, I'm easier on you and I'm more accepting of you. And I don't want to go through my life anymore just like being this exacting Bob Fosse director type, who's just like wanting to get the perfect performance out of any given moment.
Yeah.
Am I rambling? I'm rambling.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not. I'm with you. We're with you. We're totally with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I asked that question because, so many men, so many people I work with today, so many people I talk to still feel this pressure. And, one of the things I love to ask is like, where did that come from? Who does that belong to? And that starts to help me that's a tool I use to kind of release myself of that pressure. Like, is this true?
Yeah.
Where is this pressure coming from? Is it coming from anywhere, or am I totally making up myself? Right. And then just that awareness alone really, I think really is the beginning of the healing process. But what was it for you? Like, how are you able to turn that around and just like go from that to vulnerability?
I think having life kick my ass was like a really great way. That was a great teacher.
Laughter recognition. There'll be a lot of that. So.
That was a great teacher for me. It was just like, oh my God, when things don't go the way I thought they were going to go, and despite all my hard work and time and effort and will, I had this like will, the iron will, the fists. And I think the first time things really didn't go my way, I remember this very clearly. I was probably about 22 years old, 23 years old. And I was dead set on rock stardom. And I hadn't even really played out anywhere. I was just like, I'm going to be a rock star. I'd started to write music. With my ex-girlfriend, we had a band, and we were scouted by an A&R guy just because of the way I looked. Like nice. That was it. So that was enough in those days. That was enough to get you a meeting at Arista Records or whatever, wow. And I remember going in there, and the guy said, "Okay, play me your demo." And he was a huge A&R guy. Those are the guys those are the people who sign acts and star makers or whatever, artists and repertoire. So anyway, I went in and we played him the demo, and he turned it off after about 20 seconds. And he said, "You're lucky I don't throw this shit in the garbage can. How dare you come in here and waste my time with this absolute garbage. You've got a long way to go. And if you think that this can just happen overnight, you got another thing coming." I was so decimated. I was so depressed. I was like, wait. This wasn't the plan. I had this narcoleptic episode. I just passed out. I passed out. I was so depressed and freaked out that I just shut down. My body literally shut down. That was one. Yeah, that was one. No. I got out of the office and then, yeah. So that was one. I remember him pointing to Kid Rock on the wall and saying, 10 years to become an overnight sensation. Do you think I made him famous over? It was just so funny. But anyway, I felt like such a failure. That was one of many. 9/11. I remember being in 9/11, being down in the World Trade. I was a block away from the World Trade Towers when that happened, and literally being told by like the FBI agents in the street, we're all going to die.
Mm.
and thinking, life is over. This, I didn't plan this. This wasn't in the cards. I'm only, at that point I was like 24, maybe 24 years old. I was just like,
Mm.
whoa, and then realizing that life can go on, and, and that we're not in control of everything, and that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to not be in control. That was a huge revelation, but I had to kind of get my ass kicked
Yeah.
in order to learn that, because as long as everything was going great for me, I felt like I was in control and I wasn't really learning. There's a wonderful idea that I think comes from the world of tennis, which I know nothing about. And it's that you win or you learn. It's not you win or you lose.
Say
It's
that
not you win or
again
you
for
lose.
I think Instagram pause for a second. So the idea
Yeah.
with tennis
It's
is
this
that
idea that comes from the world of tennis, which is we either win or we learn. We don't win or we lose. We win or we learn.
ooh, mm,
So I love that. I've been holding on to that as a
I
little
love
mantra.
that.
And yeah, so I think that's part of it. And a huge part of it too was facing the fact after many, many years that I get really depressed and struggling with suicidal ideation. Um, the idea that I am so deeply fucked up and this world is so deeply fucked up that I might as well just end it. Like, I think that's probably the best thing for everybody, including myself.
Mm,
Um, Coming face to face with that in an honest way and being able to like talk about it with you now
yeah.
is an act of vulnerability, because I'm showing you I don't have all my shit together.
And courage, right?
But it helps. It
Yeah.
really, it
And I
helps to do
guarantee
that.
you just help someone sharing that. And that's why I do this. Because
Yeah.
I'm about to cry. I feel really moved. I have a really close friend who's suffers with that thought every day, and he has every reason to feel that way. He's been given a shit like hand,
Yeah.
and that victim mentality allows us to keep being proven uh, true. Like, we get the evidence we're looking for, right? Our bodies will start to take that on. I have a
Sure.
couple clients who have chronic illnesses. They're like young, healthy men because of how much they believe that about themselves. And I just want to thank you for the courage to share that. It's wild. I just sent an email like 30 minutes before this. I like finally got off my like monthly newsletter to finally say something, because I haven't said anything in months and years. And it was just about believing in ourselves and having the courage to and what men need today too, and having just the courage, number one, to say I'm not okay, or
Mhm.
number two, to ask for help. And that, without vulnerability, we can't really be honest, and we can't ask for help, and then we can't receive the help we love and deserve and need.
Yeah.
Right. And so I heard so much of this journey of you uh having quote unquote your ass kicked, but then still looking for the light, um and just being willing to share your truth, that hey, this is something I deal with every, however, whenever you deal with it, um that you're not alone anymore, right? That it doesn't have to have the power over you, that now I know that, and I can support you as a friend in your life around that. And so many
Beautifully
people out
said.
there who feel that aren't alone anymore.
Beautifully said. I agree. Look at my hat.
Yeah.
We got the dark and the light. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't have to be one thing.
Yeah.
And actually, the combination of things that we are, often, diametrically opposed to one another, is, I think, what makes us interesting, lovable,
Mm.
well-rounded, full people.
Mm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's wild too. Maybe I'd known this and I've forgotten it, but I lived 2 blocks from the World Trade Center during the September 11th, and
I
that
don't
was
think we
kind
ever
of
talked
my
about
turning
that.
point. Yeah, I had no idea that you were right there.
Yeah, I was right on.
I
That's
didn't
so
have
crazy.
an FBI agent tell me we were all gonna die, but I mean, I could just look up and be like, we're all gonna die,
Yeah. I mean, it was so insane.
Yeah.
to be there, that in the midst of that, because you have to,
Well, also physically, you only see that in movies, right? So when you're that close to
yeah,
something, it's
you
like,
can't really process it. I
yeah,
remember thinking, I feel like I'm in the news, like I'm on the news. I'm watching something that's going on in the Middle East. That's
yeah,
what I remember thinking. And
yeah,
there were, there was so much ash that you couldn't see. You literally could not see a few feet above your head. And at that point, the US military was flying in to like
mm.
try to take care of the situation. But for all we knew, we who were on the street, those were like fighter jets, and we were being air bombed or air
Yeah, I
raided.
thought other things were gonna start blowing up, like
Yeah.
people running across Brooklyn Bridge. I was like, "That's a terrible idea. That's next. They're gonna blow up the bridge." And like,
It's
yeah,
so
but you know
interesting.
where you go.
It was interesting. I remember being on Fulton Street and Broadway there, and then the FBI agents saying, "Run towards the seaport, run to the seaport, run to the
Yeah,
seaport."
yeah, yeah,
Started
yeah.
running down Fulton, and then some more agents said, "No, no, 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 run to the Brooklyn Bridge, run to the Brooklyn Bridge." And we ran to the Brooklyn Bridge, and then once we got to the Brooklyn Bridge, it was like, "No, they're going to bomb the bridges. Just run north." And so we kept getting redirected. Those of us who were on the street, just like running.
Yeah,
It was,
yeah.
yeah. So something like that, definitely,
Oh my
you have a choice.
God.
It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, am I
yeah.
gonna, I
I
think
got
of,
redirected into an NYU dorm, and everyone was like, "Get the fuck out of here!" And I was like, "I just need a phone." And then
yeah,
onto a bus, and the driver's like, "We're just going uptown." And I was crying. It was actually, we were close to Union Square, and I asked him if we could stop. I had a friend at in a dorm there. I was still in
mhm.
NYU, and he was like, "No, we're not stopping for anybody." And I was like crying, and I had that covered in ash, and he was like, "Wait a second, are you the Dell guy?"
Oh no.
I'm like, "No, not right now,
Yes,
Lord. Like I'm dying. Yes."
right
Like, I
now.
love you. Yeah, you can get out right here.
Dude,
And I
you got a
walked
bus.
into here we are 20 years later,
Mhm.
a full circle, and I get into I walked into my friend's dorm room, and about 30 minutes later, my roommate, who I was sure was dead because he went down to photograph the towers as they were blowing up, he appeared.
Wow.
And we both thought each other were dead because he was like, "Oh, well, you being the hero, dude, probably." He was sure I went and tried to save him or something.
Right, right.
Um, and here we both are, right? Like, so there are stories of the people who survived. Who knows why we will, but there's a lesson that we learned that day.
And I learned an important lesson in vulnerability. It's like we are vulnerable. Something like that can happen.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like at any given moment.
yeah,
And on the one hand, it's great. It's a great incentive to live life fully, and because you never know what's going to happen.
yeah.
And on the other
Other
hand,
countries like, hey, we finally know we're not invincible. Like maybe
yeah,
we
yeah.
can, learn from this now.
Hmm.
And
And then
sorry,
I
and
had
on the
also
other
had
hand, you were saying,
oh no, no, yeah, I had this impulse too to just like go the other direction, which is like fuck it. If this can happen, then I don't want to participate in this life.
mm-hmm,
And if I can't have control,
right?
then what's the point? I'm going to throw in my chips, and I think it takes courage
So,
to live with that vulnerability and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to just keep going. I don't know. Nobody's promised tomorrow. None of us are. I'm about to have a baby in 2 weeks, and not me, my wife. But yeah, and I don't. There's a
another
part of me,
one, a
another
second
one,
one.
there's another one, number two, and total surprise. But like, I can go down that road even now of, well, what kind of a world am I bringing this child into? And is this new variant going to wipe us all off the face of this earth? I don't know. And the truth is, I don't know. I can't know. All I know is that if this is happening, I believe the universe willed it to happen, and it's probably happening for a reason. And so again, part of being vulnerable today, how can I be vulnerable today? I can admit to you, my friend, Dan, and everybody who's here with us today, I'm scared. I'm scared of having another child. I'm scared of, what if I can't control what happens to this child? What if this child gets hurt or killed? Or, I live in Sandy Hook where this terrible tragedy happened. All these people here in this community lost, toddlers. They lost, kids who were as young as preschool ages, which is my son's 3.5. He's in preschool. Unspeakably awful things do happen and can happen. And do we have the courage? Can we find the courage to just keep going? That's a big part of it.
Yeah, you said it. I think courage really stood out there, and thank you for having the courage to say how you're feeling and that you're scared. And
I'm scared.
I was just talking about this yesterday. I mean, I'm scared to have any kids. You're having a second one. I'm like, it just hit me the other day. Yesterday, my wife and I were talking about children, and we've revisited this several times, and just realizing, and we have a friend, a British friend, who really wants to get his kids out of America, and he was saying, well, it's the these firearm drills they have to do now, and it hit me yesterday, like, we're one of the only countries that has to have these drills for shootings. Here we are, this great nation, and why are we what is the sickness inside of that? And to me, I really think some of it is invulnerability, and this
Big
need
time.
to prove and to be right and to front with everything but our heart, right? And not actually allow us to sit and listen and really communicate from that space.
Listening. You said listening, and I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking, I need to listen more. And there's this sense, I think too, growing up as a man, there is the sense that, like, men don't listen. Men are about action,
right,
and speaking, and a man speaks, and
search and destroy,
right, or declare. I think of Mussolini on the balcony.
Root out evil. That's what a lot of these kids who are killing people have done. They think they're rooting out, but it's not. It's intrinsic in ourselves. I think we have to start with ourselves. Like, what is it in these kids that are not being given the space to be able to communicate what they need, to where they feel like they have to get to that point, right?
For sure. And how can I listen more? How
Yeah,
can
we
I
can
listen
ask
more?
them.
Yeah.
I don't have the answers.
Totally.
Like, maybe we should ask them.
Yeah.
Right? And that's one of the things I think that we could also improve on in vulnerability, and in our country too. I remember just living, in my 22 years in New York City, I never ceased to have a little bit of not envy, but it was sort of that, like, yearning for seeing these Latinx families with multiple generations together every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And to try to even get my cousin on the phone, or or for them to get me on the phone, or to have had the I got to to have had the relationship with my grandparents that I would have that they could have had, and all of that stuff. It's just it's so lacking, the eldership and counselship and mentor, and actually checking in with our children, right?
Yeah.
There's children, like, trying to wake us up, because we're the only species in the planet that destroys our own habitats and each other, right?
It's crazy.
That literally that poison our own systems for survival. And so if we were vulnerable, what would be possible? And that's one of the things I've been trying to create, is more safe spaces for men to feel permission to take off some of the armor or the masks, or even question some of those lies we tell ourselves, so that we may be able to make more space for this, and for healing, and for all the other, and for women and all the other genders that could use some space to grow and lead.
Yeah.
Right.
So you just reminded me of something saying that. I hadn't thought about this in years. I was in high school, and I was not a jock. Believe it or not, with my black nail polish.
You athletic. You still had that in high school. Okay, cool.
I was not a jock. I was
Okay.
like anything but. I didn't. I
Mhm.
was terrible at sports growing up, so I had no interest in them.
Okay.
I was afraid. Again, vulnerability. I was afraid to go on the playing field because it felt too vulnerable. I
Mm,
didn't have good hand-eye coordination. Or I wasn't very aggressive, so I
mm,
wasn't very fast. I was overweight. I would,
mm,
so I stayed away from it. But I remember there was this one moment where a jock kid came after me I went to a boarding school. He came after me in the dorm rooms, and he to kick my ass.
mm.
And I don't know what I was thinking, but in the moment where the shit was hitting the fan and he'd found me, um, I broke down and I started to cry. And I told him what was going on with me and how I felt really scared in this moment and I felt really alone. And I didn't, I pissed him off or pissed off one of his friends or something.
Of course.
And I said, look, it was inadvertent. And he dropped. I remember that I hadn't thought about this in years. His whole body language and everything changed, and he didn't want to kick my ass anymore. And he ended up giving me a hug.
What?
Yeah, he was like, "It's okay,
What?
Yeah,
I went to a boarding school too, and so I'm just like, I can't really imagine that. Wait,
this
so
guy I was really scared
what
of.
did,
Yeah,
yeah, what did you say that disarmed him?
I basically, I mean, I don't remember the specifics so well, but it
Yeah,
was. I mean, this was a long time ago.
yeah.
But I
Or the
basically,
sentiment was like it wasn't.
he was mad. Yeah, and he felt like I had upset the lacrosse captain, and that's why they had lost the game because the lacrosse captain's girlfriend liked me, and it was a crazy high school thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I was able to do in that moment was just be vulnerable and
Mm,
say, look, I didn't mean the lacrosse captain any
yeah.
harm. I didn't mean anybody any harm.
Mm,
I think this was maybe a misunderstanding, and I feel really scared of you. And because I don't fight, I don't know how to fight. I can't defend myself,
mm-hmm.
and and I feel really alone, And
Wow.
this is like, and I remember him just being like, boom, the beef was effectively squashed, and he was able. It was counterintuitive because I would have, normally when we're being attacked, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
puff up like animals,
Or
like,
run. Yeah.
or puff up or run,
Yeah.
and
Fight
I
or
didn't,
flight.
and I
Yeah.
did neither. I just kind of dropped the armor, whatever little armor I may have had, and it ended up being a bridge to connection
Wow.
with this jock guy, who's not a bad guy. That was his deal, and
Wow.
yeah, but
That
he
is
just,
magic, Kenyon.
I haven't thought about that in years.
Oh my God, that's so magic because you literally use vulnerability as like a weapon. And
In a
it
way, it was,
totally, I mean, not really. I mean,
yeah,
let's not say weapon. You
as a
it
shield.
dismantle. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you diffuse something with truth, right?
Yes.
Instead of trying to defend yourself. So like I'm just thinking of every argument I've ever had with my wife. Like where or anyone, like where in your life if you weren't trying to defend yourself and you could just hear and then speak your truth,
Yeah.
like
It's a big one.
where would it change things in your life, right? If you could stop trying to defend yourself. One of the things I always, my wife and I work on a lot is both not taking things personally. We both had this
Right.
amazing realization after being together for 9 years and being in therapy. We've gone in counseling and we're
9 years.
going back.
That's a long time.
Yeah, we're
Congrats.
thank you. I mean, we've been married 3, but we've been dating. We've been together for a solid 9 years, so we count all of that. And
Yeah.
it's we just got that anytime one of us is angry, it immediately the other person feels like I did something wrong.
Mhm.
And I knew that about myself, but I didn't know she had that too. So we both have this like, as soon as someone's like, you're like, I fucked up. I did something wrong. I have to defend myself. And then I
Yeah.
defend myself. And then what does that do? That just literally fuels the fire, right?
Mhm.
And it just adds to it and escalates until someone leaves or someone says, I'm sorry, which rarely happens or whatever happens. So like where in our lives could we, just listen and then share our truth? Like that's
Yeah.
so powerful, that two men going at each other, or one coming at the other, that you had the, some divine courage spoke out of you, right? In
It
that
was, yeah,
moment.
it was not, again, it wasn't calculated. It was just, I think, probably, the whatever force for good there is in the universe, I
Yeah.
believe there is one, just kind of like taking over. But it was the right thing, and it was a powerful lesson. I
Mm,
mean, what happens if I'm not defending myself all the time,
mm.
and I'm not, trying to be right? There's that great idea of Daniel Bobby Tuttle noted incredible change
Yes.
in the energy there. I absolutely.
Yes.
And what if, okay, if that works when I'm in high school and I'm 17, how does it work now? I'm 46 years old. How do I interact with the world, and as an adult, how can I incorporate that kind of vulnerability? You mentioned, fights with your wife, or, not even fights, but just having that. My wife, and I, we've been together we've been married since 2016. We've been together off and on since 2012. And communication is like the priority in our relationship.
Mm,
And whenever and let me be vulnerable again, I could be such an asshole to her
mm-hmm.
without even knowing it. And it's usually when I believe I'm right about something, you know, and I have to be right. And, and I can point to, I'm 11 years older than she is. Um, I went to a more distinguished university than she did. She's from New Jersey. And, it's like all this crazy shit like goes through my head about why I'm right. It's all
Yeah.
bullshit.
Oh my gosh.
People
Wow.
from Jersey rule. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I wish I had the balls that my wife has sometimes. I
Yeah.
mean, just like that Jersey thing. She does not, and I say that Jersey thing. What I mean is, she doesn't care what people think about her.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's
That
pretty
is,
amazing.
that is amazing. That's like a superpower.
It's totally a superpower, and I don't have it. I grew up in a family where I had to care about that was my survival, was caring what people thought of me. And then growing up and becoming an actor and all that stuff, it's like you're constantly reading the room, and you know, let me, the way I was coming at it, it was
Oh
like,
yeah, me too. Yeah.
let me be everything, let me be all things to all people.
Yeah.
And so I have learned to shut the fuck up, and listen, and not try to defend myself all the time. And the other thing I've learned through experience, really, and I'm still learning it, is if I feel good about myself, if I'm in a place like I am right now, where I'm accepting of myself, I'm looking at you and your gentle, sweet face and hearing your words of wisdom and support, and I feel all right about myself. I don't feel a need to be defensive.
Mm.
And so maybe if I can carry that into my day-to-day life, even in more challenging scenarios, then that sense that I'm okay, that sense that I'm enough. I'm not going to be this defensive prick, who's
Yeah.
all hunched up and ready to
Yeah.
attack.
Yeah. And protect too, right? Like
Yeah.
for me, it can come from fear. Like when my partner is angry, I get fucking scared, and that's usually what I say. Like I'm really, I'm afraid right now.
Yeah.
But the times when I'm able to admit that I'm afraid to her, I see something shift. Or the times when I'm able, like, to notice, like, God, I'm trying to defend. Why am I trying to defend? Because I'm just, I'm scared. I'm not feeling seen, heard, or accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm not, and I'm trying to get that from her, sometimes I have to put that aside and give that to her first, right? And I can give it to my clients. It's like, but with my partner, sometimes it can be
It's a
more
whole
of a
other ball
struggle,
game.
right? Because she has like the remote. She's like this, like it's. She'll get so mad because she'll come at me to yell something at me, and she'll say this, and this, and I'm just like, I'll start laughing, and she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Because I literally was gonna come to you with the exact same complaint. If it's like you're being so dramatic right now, it's like it's interesting. I was just about to tell you the same thing. It doesn't actually move us forward. What we're realizing is just this mirror, and we're just this wall bouncing back and forth. And so, to create some pause, to start to ask yourself, like, what do I need? Why am I reacting this way?
Mm-hmm.
And just sharing your truth in any of these moments is so healing. I mean, it is for me. You sharing how you're feeling. I'm like, oh shit, maybe I can be a dad, right? Like I can be terrified and excited. You know, and one of the things I learned so much from you is when you talk about like not wanting to be a father and then becoming a father and how it changed your
Oh
life.
yeah. I was terrified.
Yeah.
That was the one thing I knew I
You
didn't
remember
want to
that?
do. That was the one thing I knew I didn't want to do. I remember being at your
Yeah.
birthday dinner 6 years ago, 5 years ago,
With the
and
cactus.
yeah, the cat go out your cactus, and we were talking about, it and you were like, "So, do you want to? You're married now. Do you want to have kids?" And I was like, "Absolutely not, never happening." And I really believed that.
Mm-hmm.
And I really believed it. I did not want it. And look at me. I'm an old dad now in a way. I've got like all the kids, the guys I grew up with. Their kids are 13, 14 years old, and I have a 3-year old, and in 2 weeks I'll have a newborn.
Well, I'll come hang out with you as we have kids.
Come in on our walkers. But but the thing that's cool is why was I so scared to have kids? Why was I so convinced that I didn't want to have them? Because of fear. Fear that I wouldn't be, fear that superficially, fear that I would lose my life. I would lose my carefree bohemian artist's New York City life. But deeper beneath that was fear that I'd fuck those kids up. I'd unwittingly imbue them with all my neuroses and my fears and my shortcomings. And I would want to do that to anybody. I'm not going to make enough money to support a family. I'm not going to be a good husband, a good partner. I'm going to go cheat because I used to cheat on all my girlfriends forever, and that sucks. And I definitely feel shitty about that. And I did feel shitty about it when I was doing it, but I felt like I couldn't stop. I don't do that, thankfully. But then
those
what
fears
happened?
are still there, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, most of my primordial fears, like not being good enough or something, I accept that it's never going to go away.
Yeah.
But I also accept that just for today, I can thank the fear for sharing and choose some tools that I have. I have some tools.
Yeah.
If I wore a tool belt, I'd have them. But I do. I have tools like pause.
Yeah.
You mentioned being, when things come up with your partner, it's like, if I can pause instead of just like firing back something, my day is infinitely better. I can take a quick inventory of like, well, where am I at in my life right now?
Yeah.
And what have I accomplished? And I've actually done a lot. Am I a rich and famous artist? No, I'm not. And
if you were, you might still have the exact same feelings you have today, right?
True.
There's this great quote by Jim Carrey. He said, "I wish everyone could be rich and famous so they know it's not what life's about." And that helps me remember it, because I'd still love to have that money to help people and have the fame as the validation you've always wanted. But what if you could give yourself that right now?
And I can. The truth is, Ben, I can. And you just reminded me of that fact. Being here with you, I have everything I need in this moment. And how wonderful that we get to share this conversation with whoever's joining us right now. I mean, that's a miracle. Props to technology.
Yeah, it's really special.
I have an incredible marriage. Is it perfect? No, because I'm not perfect. And that's perfect. Like, it's okay. Yeah. And I have this incredible child who I thought I didn't want. I thought I never wanted children. He happened on the pill. And despite my belief, my strong conviction that I was sterile, my son happened. And now my daughter is about to happen.
Oh no!
Yeah, the soul was like, no, I'm picking this guy. I'm gonna fuck with his
block before.
Right. Yeah. And I have.
And now you're having a daughter?
Yeah, now I'm having a daughter.
Oh my god.
For now, I mean, who knows what she'll choose to be? Yeah. But there's a vagina in the anatomy scan. But the thing is, yeah, there you go. But the thing is, I do have within my family all the validation I really need when I can be present with them. And as a parent, you said, I don't know, maybe I can be a dad. Yes, you can. You know why? All a dad needs to do is be a loving witness to their child. You just have to be there.
Yeah.
And accept them and love them.
Yeah.
It's very basic. We're complicated creatures with very basic needs.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't
Thank
have
you for
understood that unless, the universe intervened and gave me children, which I totally thought I didn't want.
that. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. And, real talk here too. Like, one of my fears is bringing kids in this world and this planet, like, not being here, or kids being really upset because they're like, why did you bring me into a dying place and now it's my mess and I have to take care of you?
Yeah.
And I'm just standing. One of my friends, Daniel Tuttle, who's listening today.
You just commented.
Yeah, he's who I'm leading the Renaissance Men workshop with. He said this thing, and maybe he heard it from somewhere, but that, what if right now, if all the stuff that's happening, even disease and all that stuff is just the Mother Earth cleansing herself. Right? Like, if we don't treat her well, she's got to, like, get rid of the stuff that's not working, and
got to pick off the fleas.
Yeah. And
brush it off.
It just hit me, like, what if, there's so much new stuff that we can create, and the world is so much bigger than we can imagine, and if we can destroy it this quickly, can we, with technology and these new ways that, like, the future leaders and children are thinking, can we clean it up and turn it around? Can we use it to our advantage? Can we create some kind of rebirth? Miracles have happened, and but there's a lot of destruction happening, and 70% of kids are going into I believe it's like renewable energy and climate related majors in college now because of necessity. They're like, this is the only way we're gonna live, right?
Yeah.
So as a father, I think about that. I'm scared, and I feel like I missed the boat because, like, had I had kids 10 or 20 years ago, maybe they'd be adults now. But, like, I certainly was not ready for that. Like, now I feel like I could responsibly say that I could bring another life in this world and take good care of it. And and then there's all these questions. So either way, like, my wife and I actually have a meeting today. We were tired of talking about it. So we put things in action. Like, okay, let's have a once a week meeting. She was feeling like we're not communicating about it, and I was feeling like when she wanted to, it was always a great time, and I wanted to be present. So we actually created a meeting once a week where we're going to start to talk about our future and what we'd like to create together around family. Or, I mean, this week it may even just be travel plans,
Yeah.
But,
Beautiful.
like, what that actually looks like, and there's all these little things we can put in, and that was just a way for me to be vulnerable. I had to say, like, I need help. Like, if you want to talk, like, I need to sit down, like, I need structured time where I can be present with you and give you this gift, and we can talk about it together, right?
Absolutely.
There's been many times when we've been like, oh, we got pregnant, blah, whatever, we'll see what happens. But, now we're being, like, a little more conscious about it and intentional, which I think, and I think what I really want to say is, I just got this message in my head, kind of, how can we use vulnerability to heal the world, right? And that's where, when I want to solve the world's problems and solve all of these big things, that's one of the things I always come back to is, like, let's just start with ourselves, right? And work on it in our own personal relationships and the relationship with ourselves. Like, would we talk to ourselves the way, we talk to friends in such loving ways, but then we, like, somehow give ourselves permission to just, like, destroy ourselves, right?
Oh, I'm the king of that. I am just like evil drills. I'm the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket with myself, I'm like absolutely, literally, and almost driving myself to suicide sometimes. Like, really, really awful. I would never speak to my son that way. I would never speak to my wife that way. I would certainly never speak to you that way. And yet, why did I think it was okay to just, like, beat the shit out of myself?
Yeah.
And, like, all the negative self-talk and the obsessive negative thinking. It's so important I'm so glad you mentioned that, because it's important for me to out myself and like, hey, I do that. And I can still do that if I'm not careful.
Yeah, I do too. I have to unfollow. Like there was even like my own coach I was working with in a while. I had to stop looking at his stuff because I was getting triggered by how, successful I thought his life is,
Yeah.
because he has like four kids and a huge house and did bought his mom a house and all these things, that I and he's a peer, and my wife, thank God for her, and my friends were like, you're not that guy though, like that's not your life, like you've lived a different life, you have other gifts. And again, it was that thing like, oh well, if I could just be great as a coach, then maybe I could be validated, right? Maybe my acting career wouldn't be have been for nothing, and all this stuff. And it's when I started just doing the work daily of like trying to talk. It's easy to preach a big game, but like to actually start practicing talking kindly to ourselves.
Oh,
Then
big time.
that's the work I started doing. Like sit with myself and
Yeah.
sit with what I call God or the universe, and invite like my angels in, my guardian angels, the people who I have lost that I, still I feel depressed over, and all of those things, just to invite that in, and to use it, right?
For sure. It's funny you mentioned having that conversation with your wife, and you're this is your life. You're having that life. I had a similar thing. I had a couple months after my son was born. I had this real crisis of identity where I felt like, who am I? I'm this fucking dad. I'm just this like loser dad, and I'm making my money in advertising, and I don't feel passionate about it. And I was supposed to be the rock star guy, the actor guy. I was supposed to be the and my wife just thankfully she just said, you know what? I've dated I've dated a lot of signed musician rock star guys, and you're very different from them in that
Mm.
they did one thing. And she's like, you don't do, going back to your Renaissance man. She's like, you do a lot of different things. And maybe, did you ever consider that maybe your greatest talent is just helping people and making people feel good?
Wow.
Like maybe that's what you were trying to do with your music, and maybe that's what you were
Wow.
trying to do with live performance and your acting. And maybe you could just take that to the next level.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, God is speaking to me. And but it really turned my thinking around. And the first sort of step on that journey
Mm.
is admitting that, hey, admitting my vulnerability and saying like,
Mm.
hey, I got to my mid 40s thinking early 40s thinking I would be this one thing,
Yeah.
and now I'm not. I'm a lot more than that,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're 20 and dealing with this, like there's time. There's still
There
hope.
really is. That's a myth. There is a myth that I bought into, which was you have one shot, Eminem,
Yeah.
8 Mile, one shot, one shot. That's not true.
No,
The law,
not at
if we
all.
hang in there and we stay alive, I have
Yeah.
this project, Be Here Tomorrow. Be here tomorrow. Don't,
Mm.
just if we, the longer we keep on trucking,
Hmm.
the more chances we get. Opportunities circle back. And
Yes.
I think things happen when we're ready for them to happen.
Yeah. 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 It's really powerful. It's I'm feeling really moved by that, and by you, and by what your wife said. Um yeah, it's okay. Like you're enough. And
Thank
it's
you.
it's been yeah. And it's been really, one of the things I was starting to write about today, I couldn't even capture it in words, was like this Dell thing. Like I'm back with Dell right now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Like the dude is back.
Yeah.
And there's still more to be revealed, and it came with a lot of terrifying emotions. Like I couldn't believe it, because it's something I'd worked for a long time and almost had given up on, but I just always kept that nurturing there and the love there, and I just never shut the door, but I kept moving forward and following my heart, and I realized I was getting attached to that thing needing to come back in my life in order, some big thing. And I realized, sort of one of the reasons I think it's come back is because I started to finally follow myself, and
Mhm.
it had space to, and they actually could see that I was doing my own thing, and it wasn't that energy of neediness. It was that energy of like
Attraction.
abundance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Attraction and projection, and just enough, right?
Yeah.
And timing and all the beautiful things like that have allowed it was incredibly smart. It's great for them and for us and for me and for everyone and for their business right now to have that, and for the future of what they're creating. And one of the things I'm excited about is because they're championing renewable energy. They're behind like being responsible as a global company. Like no one else is talking about it.
Yeah.
So to get to be the face of that is something I can stand behind really strongly now, and be really proud of. And the other thing about it, is that it stood for loss and trauma. It was the time when I was most out of control, most in the realms of drugs, alcohol addiction, undiagnosed PTSD from 9/11 had happened, and I was doing just like my life didn't stop. I just stayed famous and then had more interviews about 9/11. So thank God I got to talk about it. But it was, and then it just started exploding, and I was getting more and more sick, and really I needed help and healing, but I couldn't say it and I didn't know how. And so I feel like somehow I kind of, the whole rest and everything was almost like a self-sabotage, and this, but also it was in hindsight, it was like a cry for help. Everyone was pissed off and disappointed with me.
Yeah.
But no one said like grabbed my hand and said, we're going to go get you help, or can I help you? A lot of what I heard is like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why aren't you showing up? And under
Right.
that pressure, all I heard was me on loudspeaker, right? Which just had me crumble more. And
Yeah.
so I couldn't show up, and I didn't have the tools. I was 19. So you see all these young artists and they do get famous. Like Kenyon, maybe we dodged a fucking bullet, right? If we had that fame, maybe we would be Kurt Cobain. Maybe we would have put that bullet in our head.
Mm-hmm.
Right, if we had that
possible.
And then still feel this way, right? And because being on the road all of that time, and the impact it has on your body and mental, and not to mention drugs and alcohol and all the stuff, like there's some gift we have, and we're here today, and what can we create with it? So it's when you said that, it's like, yeah, I could come full circle. It was like, because it literally is right now. And one thing I saw my father do, who passed away recently, is that even after he came out at 50 years old, proudly, he put his pain, and he learned he was sexually abused as a young child. He started talking about it. He created a group at the church for adults who had been sexually abused. He started painting. He started putting it in his paintings. Then he retired from minister and became a painter in his like 60s and 70s, and he would reinvent himself again. And it is a reminder, that every day is a new chance, a new possibility, and we literally can recreate ourselves. You becoming a father again, and having this new child, like who knows the infinite possibilities and gifts that await you. Right, and all we see is the like fear and the responsibility,
right.
And we're like, oh fuck! But
do I have enough diapers? Yeah,
it's I bet true. If you asked for diapers, like all of us would love to pitch in to help give you diapers.
You're so sweet. We're
right,
good.
So where are we not asking for help and just allowing ourselves to receive the gifts that are literally already at our doorstep?
The best moments in my life, I believe, the most enriching, teaching moments in my life that I can think of are when I needed help. And I had no choice but to admit my vulnerability and ask for it. That's when I learned the most about myself, and that's when I learned the most about other people. And I'm still learning. But thanks for reminding me of that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, and I'm just enjoying hearing Soren's voice in the background.
He's in it to win it. He's talking to Alexa. He likes Alexa to tell him jokes.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, especially dirty jokes.
That's our future.
They will have AI friends
with computers. We didn't even have cell phones.
No.
Like, oh my gosh!
I didn't have a cell phone until I was
Buckle
out of
in.
college.
I mean, there's a
It's
lot of change coming, and vulnerability is a great tool.
it absolutely. I think it's necessary. I think it's
Yeah.
if we are in a stage of transition and we are evolving as men, as a society, I think vulnerability is key to that. It's key to that transition.
Yeah.
I saw something on the chat. Somebody saying, "Is there a way to watch to get more of this conversation?" Did you
Cool.
want to address that?
Sure. Yeah, it'll be on my Instagram, and it'll be on Facebook and YouTube and on those pages. So if you just go to any of my links, it's all right there. This will be saved and live there.
Awesome.
And I'm also in the works of creating a Dude You're Getting Well podcast.
Yes.
Be doing things just like today. I mean, this is really what I want to be doing, is interviewing other artists and Renaissance people, creatives who have really pursued success and are still at it, and like what they what their challenges are and what we do to take care of ourselves. And you've just been such a great, as far as divine masculinity, redefining that. I mean, you're really, to me, a great example of that.
Thank you.
Just who you are and who you be in this world.
Thank you. I mean, that's a huge, huge compliment. And I want to be that. I want to, especially for my son,
Yeah.
I want to be a model for not whatever. I do not want toxic masculinity in the house. I want, the opposite. I want
Right.
there to be the sense that it's okay to be, as you said at the outset, a vulnerable, honest man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's totally cool.
I love that. Well, I hope that this has helped someone today.
I do too.
Anyone who's listening, we're so grateful to have you part of this conversation. I really want to encourage you to at least tag one man in your life. It doesn't have to be a man, but women are trying to sign up for my Renaissance Men workshop more
Nice.
than men are. And we really, for whatever thing that's keeping men from feeling permission to connect and reach out to each other and dare to jump into something, where they might have to be vulnerable, we want to recreate that, and that's what we're doing today. So anytime you tag someone or you share it, it really helps move this medicine and this conversation forward in the world. So that
Absolutely.
we can transmute that. And I want to tell you, please follow Kenyon. He is doing awesome things. It's at the Kenyon Phillips. And Kenyon, you have your own podcast too. So
I do, yeah.
About it?
Oh, you're so sweet. It's called Be Here Tomorrow. And it's, in a nutshell, it's a podcast about finding reasons to live, really. And Be Here Tomorrow is, it's about, let's not end things today. Let's find what we need in the present to be here tomorrow. So, and I just am radically vulnerable in the podcast. And I just talk about what I'm going through, and in the hopes that, like today's conversation, like you said, Ben, that it could help somebody.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so important to keep talking. And if anybody who's with us today wants to keep, this conversation going too, I mean, feel free to hit us up. And
please reach
DM.
out. Yeah. It's a great way and a safe way. If so, Kenyon, I put the name of your podcast in the comments here. How?
Thank you so much.
How do we find, like?
It's on every platform. It's
okay.
Yeah, you can find it on SoundCloud, which is what hosts it, but you can find it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, cool. Amazon Music, Verbal. Oh, it's on all of them. I can't even remember all the platforms, but if you do a search,
listen to podcasts, you'll probably find it.
You can also go to my website, thekenyonphillips.com, and you can listen to everything there as well.
Cool. So I'll put that in here too. So I just think that's such a beautiful message. I used to hear, oh shoot, I didn't even put that in right. I used to hear, one of the great things I heard in recovery, and I still think about, when I want to like go on a bender or something, is like just if you can just wait till tomorrow, right? And I've never like woken up the next day being like, damn, I wish I'd, like,
Wish I'd bought the farm yesterday.
yeah, I feel great. I know how much I spent, there's, and if we can just hold on for one more day, hold on for one more day.
Exactly, Wilson Phillips.
Yeah.
The best.
It's literally, I mean, our brains, one thing we do know about them is that they're also always changing. So with neuroplasticity and all of that, there is possible and change. And that's why I literally offer all these tools too. So on my website, and I'm going to put the link to the Renaissance Men workshop in here for anyone who wants to come this Wednesday and like redefine, recreate, destroy all the bullshit you tell yourself, or just to heal and let some other men in. We would be honored to have you. I'm going to throw this thing up on her face one more time with Daniel Bobby Tuttle. So he's hilarious and amazing and super intuitive. And I've actually been training with him in theta healing. So now I also offer healings for people and work on how they believe about themselves and to sort of recreate that. And so Daniel's been a gift in my life. He's also well, anyway, we could go on and on. We have a lot in common, all of us.
That's why we're here.
Yeah,
that's why we're here.
I'm just so happy to have you. Please follow this guy. I love you, and I love you too. And no one told you they love you today. We fucking love you.
We do.
Please go just say that to yourself, even if you don't believe it. Just pretend, and that's a start.
Yes,
I agree
with that.
I
agree with that.
I had to like meditate on that I am allowed to have money in my life, and that it's not bad and good, and that we can do good in the world. I've had to do work on that. So they're actually we can create anything. But Kenyon, this has just been a beautiful reminder to be here tomorrow, to lean into vulnerability, and you were such a gift. This world is so much better with you in it. So thank you for sticking around.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see what you create next.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Little human.
That's
I didn't do much. I just kind of came in my wife, but it'll.
Yeah, great.
We'll see what happens.
That note,
we'll see what happens. Love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for joining us again. Please share this and have a beautiful day. Take care.
You too.
Peace.